So I will present you on behalf of Magda this topic on the patient perspective in medicines drug development, which is an important topic. Oops, yes. So the aim of this topic is really to enable patients to have a better perspective or to reflect their perspective in the medicine R&D processes of treatment development. So that will provide a framework and guidance for all EU stakeholders about who, when, and what information is really needed, as well as how to engage patients to obtain the beneficial and necessary input from the patients and healthcare consumers. So more precisely, the project will aim to adapt practices by stakeholders by creating minimum expectation of effective engagement and metrics to support implementation within industry, but as well as healthcare authorities and other decision makers. Importantly as well, the project will look at defining engagement capability as well as defining rules of engagement. So what are the expected benefits of this topic? Well, this is an important topic in order to ensure an enhanced and systematic engagement of patients and healthcare consumers in the medicine's life cycle, because that ultimately will help to improve and sustain innovation and meaningful outcome for all the stakeholders. This project, of course, will help to address some of the major objectives of IMI to reduce the attrition rate in drug development, but as well to speed up access of medicines to patients, and more importantly, to improve the patient outcome and experience. Now, what are we expecting from the applicant consortium? Well, we expect that this project or applicant consortia will succeed to mobilize the various patient organizations, whether umbrella or disease-specific, healthcare consumers group, as well as patient experts. Of course, the composition shall reflect the heterogeneity of the patients, including those who are not affiliated to any organizations, and carer population, which are important as well. And the composition should enable the participation, but as well the input from all the relevant groups and individuals. What is expected as well from the applicant consortium is to mobilize regulatory authorities, HTA, technology assessment bodies, payers from national and pan-European level, because of course this will be important being in this project in order to address the objective. Healthcare professional, of course, is important since there is always a link between the patient and healthcare professional and clinicians, including the general practitioners and clinicians. Academic experts in ethics, code of conduct, performance evaluation will be an added value in the consortium, as well as experts in point-of-care know-how and integration. Finally, importantly, to have experts in communication and knowledge dissemination, including social media, would be important in this particular project. Now, the other topic that I will briefly explain is on a different matter, is the creation of a pan-European pediatric clinical trials network. Now, why do we have this topic as well in front of us? Is, you probably have read many reports saying that most of the medicines in children have never been, are not authorized in children that are used or even not have been tested, and this is even worse when we go to the neonates. So despite the legislative regulation in place to push for the development of medicines in pediatrics, there are still, the effect of the regulation is still to be seen. It will take time, but as well, a lot of pediatric investigation plans have been agreed, but now there will be a need to conduct all these studies and to have the capability to do the studies. So the importance of this project is to try to set up and to address collectively to create this collaborative pediatric network that will facilitate the development and the availability of new medicines by conducting of these clinical trials for approval, but as well to expand the knowledge of the medicines currently used for the entire pediatric population. So more specifically, this project will look at creating a network structure and an organization to agree on how this should be built in order to carry out all these clinical studies, or thinking of a lean central coordinating organization arranged around national hub coordinating center cooperating with multiple sites in each member state. That's the vision. Now, what would be important as well is to build the network scientific advice and study design and feasibility groups that can work within this network in order to advise on the conduct of the studies. What is important is that we need to be sure that this network will be viable. So having some clinical studies performed within the project will help to test the viability of the network. And what is expected is 3 to 4 industry studies will be conducted, as well as non-industrial and academic studies to test the viability of the network. Finally, we want to make sure that this network will be viable and will be sustained after the lifetime of the funding. Therefore, it will be very important to address the objective of finding a business model that will ensure that this network continue after the lifetime of the project. So what are the expected impact on the R&D process? Obviously, by having this network, we definitely hope to have an impact on better access for pediatric patients to new medicines, experimental therapies, and improve labeling information for already marketed product. This network should help really with the efficiency of the executing trial, so it's very much an operational network. So it should reduce the timeline or the cost of the conducted clinical trials, and that could be through, for example, of standardized processes, procedures, single contact point, etc. But it will enhance as well the role of clinicians and as well patient and parent advocacy group in the planning and designing of the studies to be carried out in children. Finally, this network should be, and this project should be really an opportunity for European clinical research personnel and sites and organizations to collaborate and making Europe really an attractive place and competitive place in order to deliver high quality pediatric clinical trials. So who do we expect to be in this applicant consortium? Well, the applicant is expected to mobilize large children's hospital, medical center, existing regional or national pediatric networks, translational, pan-European disease-specific networks. But importantly is, of course, to have experience in conducting the clinical trials, expertise in the science of pediatric development, access to large population, covering the entire spectrum of disease and the condition across all the age groups. So this network is not a disease-specific, it's a general network that can address all the conditions as well as all the age group. Information on technology and data management would be important to have consideration with, as well as expertise in legal and clinical compliance. Finally, like all our project, having strong project management and communication expertise would be important. SMEs has a role to play as well, with expertise in aspects in pediatric drug development, patient advocacy organization, of course, as well as youth advisory groups. So we expect to see in the applicant consortium these groups being in. Regulators, and already, if you have read already the indicative text, is that there is, of course, a link that will have to be made with the pediatric network at the European Medicine Agency, and therefore there is a willingness already from at least the European Medicine Agency to be part of the consortium in order to create this link.